Guys, today I want to talk with you about how leadership is not a popularity contest. I think when we're young, we believe that whoever's more popular is going to naturally and inevitably be the leader. I remember friends running for student council. I never ran for student council when I was younger, primarily because I was more interested in sports than I was any sort of leadership in the school. I remember a friend of mine asking if I would give him an introductory speech to help him secure his nomination as, I believe it was the secretary of the school. I can't really remember. That was 20 years ago or so. And I just thought to myself, I gave the speech because he was a friend of mine and I wanted to help out in whatever way I could. But I just remember thinking to myself, man, this is just a popularity contest. Now he won. And he won because he was popular, and he won because I was kind of popular in high school because I was a jock and played sports and did all that sort of thing. So that's really what people looked at, kids anyways, looked at when it came to what it meant to be a leader. Now, what's interesting is that inevitably as we get older and we mature and we step into more significant leadership roles, we think that the most popular people are going to be leaders. So what does that cause us to do? Well, it causes us to make decisions that we think are going to be popular. Politicians do this as well, even at the federal level. They make decisions not based on what is right, not based on what is true, not based on what they said they would do or what will help the most amount of people. They base their decisions on what they think is popular. And I actually think that's a huge problem with politics these days. And not only these days, but probably since the advent or since we've been walking around as human beings on this earth. Guys, I'm here to tell you that if you truly want to lead people, you aren't always going to be popular. Or at least you're not going to be popular with everyone. There's going to be a certain subset or subgroup of people who you are extremely popular with. I'm finding that out as I continue to lead the Order of Man mission and movement. And then you're going to be very, very unpopular with other individuals. But even in a work environment, let's say you're in some sort of team leadership position or management position, you might have to make decisions that are unpopular. And you've got to ask yourself, are you more interested in being popular and being approved of and liked by your subordinates and by the people that you're trying to serve? Or are you more interested in leading them to a place they could not have imagined going to on their own? And that is the best definition of leadership that I've seen, is helping individuals get to a place that not only could they not have imagined going to on their own, that they could not possibly get to on their own. That is your job as a leader. And that means that at times you're going to need to make decisions that are not popular. You're going to have to let go of potentially people who are popular. You're going to have to make uncomfortable decisions. There's going to be sacrifices that need to be made. One of a movie that I really like is called Master and Commander. Some of you guys have seen it with Russell Crowe. Probably came out 20 plus years ago at this point. And he's the captain of the ship, and the ship gets stuck in a storm. And if I remember correctly, the mast of the ship breaks, and it falls into the ocean in the midst of the storm. And it acts like a sea anchor. So eventually, because it's stuck in the tide and the waves of the ocean, that it's going to pull this ship into the sea. And Captain Aubrey, I think his name is, I'm trying to remember this. He says, or he has to make the decision that either we're going to let everybody die, or we're going to cut this guy who happens to be on the sea anchor, because he was on the mast when it fell. We're going to cut this guy loose. And he makes the decision in that moment that they're going to cut that mast that fell into the ocean. We're going to cut that loose so it no longer acts as a sea anchor, and we're going to right that ship. So they get out the kit and they get out the axes and the hatchets, and he hands a hatchet to one of the crew members. Well, this particular crew member happens to be a very close personal friend of the sailor who's stuck on the mast in the ocean, who, when those ropes are cut, is going to be lost at sea. And he hands that to him. And he wrestles with that decision, and you can see it in his eyes, and you can see how uncomfortable it is for him to have to make the decision to sacrifice this sailor in order to save the rest of the crew and save the ship, and of course drive on with a mission, which is the most important thing, right? Mission first. We hear about that, we talk about that, and I think most of us believe that. So guys, I illustrate that point because I want you to know that leadership isn't always popular. You know, sometimes you have to play the game, sometimes you have to play politics, but the decisions that you make aren't always going to be popular with everyone, and it's the mark of a strong, capable, successful leader who can make the correct decisions in spite of it being unpopular. And are you willing to come to terms with that? I mean, are you more interested in being popular and being liked and receiving the accolades and admiration of other people? Or are you more interested in seeing people thrive and to win? I know as a father, I'm not always popular. When I tell my kids they have to do the dishes or go to bed, I'm not the most popular guy in the house. But you know what? Still needs to be done. And I consider my job as a father to render myself obsolete, which means that as a leader, if I'm trying to put myself out of work, I've got to put them in environments that they're not completely comfortable with. And that makes me unpopular. Now, we're not doing things to be a dickhead, right? Like, there's a difference. And of course, you need to exercise some tact, because you do need to have some level of trust and authority and credibility with other people, some level of influence, and they have a say in that matter. So you do need to work on that. I'm not saying that you need to completely ignore that just for the sake of being a quote-unquote leader. There's a lot of elements and layers to this. But realize that if you want to lead effectively, come to terms with the fact that not everybody's going to like you. And you know what? It's okay. And if you're more interested in people liking you, then just resign as a leader. Just resign. Don't be a father. Don't be a husband. Don't own your business. Don't be any sort of team leader. When your boss tries to give you a promotion, decline that promotion because you're not interested in leadership. You're just more interested in being popular. And look, if you want to be popular, I don't know, you can walk around and like pay people compliments all day. You'd be pretty popular if you did that. Or maybe you can sell ice cream to people. In fact, don't sell it. Just give it to them. Just give them ice cream. Because you'd be pretty popular if you did that. But giving people ice cream and paying them compliments is going to accomplish the mission. So what's more important to you? You've got to ask yourself. So what I wanted to talk with you about today, I wrote down 5 strategies here. 5 little tips, pointers, the framework, whatever you want to call it, to help you wrap your head around the fact that you're not always going to be popular, and come to terms with that and then be able to drive on. So point number 1 is fight the right battle. All right, and we've been talking about this for the past 10 minutes or so. The battle is not to be popular. The battle is not to be right. The battle is not to be liked. The battle is to win. Whatever your battle is. If the battle is you as a father, your battle is to raise self-sufficient human beings. All right, now, there's a lot of men who have raised little assholes. Right? We see these little assholes because they feel entitled to everything, and they've never dealt with any sort of hardship, and they think that everybody owes them something. These are the little a-holes I'm talking about. And if you raised one of those little a-holes, that's on you. Okay, you were more interested in being popular with that child than you were being right by equipping them with the tools and the resources and the things that they needed to be able to thrive in their life, which wasn't always comfortable for you. What's very interesting about these people who say, I'm just trying to help them. I just want to help them. I have a bleeding heart and I just want to help them. Look, in the majority of cases, I don't think those individuals are more interested in helping people. I think they're more interested in serving themselves because they don't want to be in an uncomfortable situation. They don't want it to be awkward. They don't want to feel bad. They don't want to sacrifice. So leading in any way other than rendering yourself obsolete, in any way other than doing the right thing, is a very selfish way to lead. Now, you'll rationalize and you'll justify it by saying, I just want this person to feel good and feel happy and feel secure and feel safe. And isn't that the problem that we're seeing in society? We've created a generation of sniveling, whining little wimps. And guess what we're having to do now? Deal with these people. And we created them. We're the ones that made them that way. Because we were so selfish that we weren't willing to sacrifice. We weren't willing to jeopardize our own feelings. And instead, we just made it easy on them. Guys, we got to fight the right battle. And the battle is not, I want people to feel happy. I want some sort of utopian society that is not humanly possible. That's not the right battle, okay? The right battle is I want to win. I want to dominate. I want my children to thrive in a world of degenerate individuals. I want my business to dominate the market space. I want to win. You guys all have that attitude, but are your actions aligned with that attitude? And I know they are if you're making unpopular decisions that are right. It's not for the sake of being unpopular. It's decisions that might not be popular, but that are right and true and get the ship going in the right direction. Point number 2, operate based on principles, not emotions. Not what somebody might be experiencing. Not some sort of external circumstance, or will I be liked, or will this be met with contention or animosity. But operate from a base of principle. Now, look, guys, the way that we administer these principles can vary, and they should vary. If you're one of these 0 F's mentality guys, you're wrong, okay? You're flat out wrong. Hey, this is just the way I communicate, and if they don't like it, that's their problem. No, that's your problem as the leader. If you're walking around with this level of arrogance and you're saying, hey, 0 F's, and if this guy doesn't believe what I believe, and if this guy doesn't do it the way I want to do it, and you're trying to lead that individual, and because of your attitude, he isn't getting the team or doing his job or getting the team in the right direction, that's on you as the leader, not him. So what I'm suggesting when I say operate on principles is not screw everybody at the expense of the mission. All right? We're not trying to sacrifice people on the altar of whatever your mission is. That's not what we're doing here. What we're doing here is we're realizing that, okay, I'm going to operate on principles and realize that the principles are first, and if I follow the correct principles, then everything else will begin to fall in line. Now, the way you administer the principles is different for different people. When I was early in my retail, that's my background, by the way, if you guys don't know, is I did retail clothing. I managed retail clothing stores. And I remember vividly, like it was yesterday, there was this, I was going to say woman, but I don't think she was a woman. I think she was 16 or 17 years old at the time. So this young lady who worked in one of our stores, one of my stores. And I was the either assistant manager or manager in training, somewhere along those lines. And she was just leaving a mess everywhere in the store. Like she would pull out jeans for people and have them try them on, and pull down shirts and have these people try them on. And she was a great sales associate from that perspective. She could sell a lot of clothing, which was really good. But she just left a mess, just a complete mess everywhere she went. And it was so infuriating and frustrating to me. And one day I really laid into her. Like I really got after her. More so than I needed, because I was immature and I didn't know. And I thought, okay, well, we've got to place a mission first, and she's leaving a mess, and this is causing a problem for other people. So I really laid into her. And she started crying, like sobbing, genuine and legitimate tears. And immediately I was like, whoa, like I've done something wrong here. I don't know what's going on, right? So I step away from the situation. I talk with my manager. We get things worked out. And I go back and talk with her. And it turns out she's dealing with some very personal issues in the moment. And it wasn't necessarily what I did. It was her own personal issues she was dealing with. But it was the way that I was handling that situation without any sort of empathy and understanding. And it created a real rift and a real problem. Well, I undermined myself, right? I lost credibility with her. Now, the mission is first, no doubt. Keeping the store clean in that environment was very important. But if it comes at the expense of our employees, and we have this 0 F's mentality, my way or the highway mentality, like a lot of us do, you're going to create some real contention, some real problems. You're actually undermining your efforts in a lot of ways. So when I say that operate on principle is a key component of of effective leadership, I'm not saying that needs to come at the expense of your employees. That's up for you to determine. And you need to be able to evaluate and know your team's personality and how they interact so that you can communicate in an effective way. You're still communicating the principles. So you're not sacrificing the principles. With her, I wouldn't sacrifice the cleanliness of the store. Had I known what she was dealing with, and had I been a little bit more mature in my leadership approach, I would have approached that completely different. I would have produced a better result, not only for the store, but for her and me as well. So please don't misunderstand me and think that just because I'm saying operate on principle that you can just sacrifice all of your employees or subordinates or family members. That's not what I'm talking about here. This is a team effort. And so you need to be able to communicate in an effective way that's going to get them on board with the principles that you're sharing. Okay, which leads me into point number 3, which is to communicate effectively. If there's one skill that I believe that all men should work on continually developing, it's your ability to communicate with other individuals. There isn't a single skill, in my mind anyways, that is more important than your ability to communicate effectively. And one of the unintended consequences, I shouldn't say consequences, benefits. One of the unintended benefits of running this podcast over the past 5.5 years is that I've become a pretty effective communicator. I know how to have conversations with other people. I know how to ask questions and extract and solicit answers that they wouldn't normally give. I know how to get to the heart and the root of the matter. I know how to push back when needed. I still have room to go, but these are all things that I've gotten better at through practice and through a level of empathy and understanding. Guys, your most valuable asset in any endeavor is the people around you. It's your team members, it's your family, it's the people that you're surrounded by. And so your job is to lift them up. And how do we lift them up? By communicating effectively. I had a team leader for the Iron Council, which is our exclusive brotherhood. I had him on one of our team leader calls today. And this particular gentleman has done a phenomenal job over almost 2 years now, being engaged and committing and stepping up and sacrificing. And now he's a team leader and he's leading 13 to 15 other men very, very well. And he's stepping into voluntary roles. And I took a moment out of our team membership call today, team leadership call, I should say. And I just spent some time praising him in front of everybody else. And it wasn't disingenuous. This gentleman has done a very exceptional job. And I communicated that to him and I shared it in front of the rest of the team because I know that if he feels the level of admiration and respect that I have for him and I'm able to communicate that and articulate it in a powerful and a meaningful way that makes him feel important, that makes him feel special about himself, that not only is it the right thing to do, but I'm going to get a lot more output from this individual. Right? Because he's bought in. Hey, Brian recognized me. He sees what I'm doing. He sees the sacrifice and the effort and the commitment. And now he's more bought in than he's ever been over a period of 2 years. Now, some might say, well, you're just manipulating that individual. That's not manipulation. I believe everything that I said. And I believe he needed to know everything that I felt. But I happen to understand that if I can share it in front of other people, then he'll feel exceptionally good about that. And he should be, by the way. He should feel good about that. And it will drive him to excel and to strive and to do even better than what he's currently doing. Guys, your ability to communicate these things effectively to other individuals is very important. One other thing that we talked about on our team leadership call today is that you want to be very careful of telling people, well, we're doing it because this is the way we do it, and exerting your authority. Now, you could do that, and you're going to get some level of compliance. So Brett Bartholomew taught me this. He says, you're going to get you either have compliance or you have commitment. All right. And compliance is just getting people to adhere to what you're doing because there's some sort of ramification if they don't. Okay. That's compliance. Commitment, on the other hand, is them voluntarily wanting to do that. And we do that through the way that we communicate effectively with other individuals. So guys, effectively communicate with those people. because those are the people that you're leading, those are the people you're inspiring, and those are the people who are going to help you achieve the levels of success that you and the team desire. All right, so that's point number 3. Point number 4 is hire the right team. Like, you got to hire the right people. Right? If your team isn't motivated, isn't inspiring, isn't being led, isn't willing to step up, isn't willing to buy into your mission, there's some things that you can do on your end, but there's some things that they have to do on their end. And you don't have 100% control over this. But what you do have 100% control over is the people that you hire, is the people that you bring on. And so we give them every opportunity that we possibly can in order to thrive and to excel and to succeed. And some people just won't get it. And as I said earlier, sometimes you're going to need to cut the sea anchor because there's people on your team who aren't getting it. Now, we as leaders need to give them every opportunity and every resource that we possibly can to ensure that they're set up for success. But if after banging your head against the wall, you've communicated effectively, you've given them all the resources, you've shared all the information, you've given them time to grow and to learn and develop, they aren't getting it, well, that's an individual that can no longer be on your team because the mission is first. And that's going to be a very unpopular thing. You might have to let go of somebody who is well-liked. Of course, that person isn't going to like your decision. There's going to be other people who don't like that decision, and yet you have to make it because you are the team leader. And if you aren't willing to make that decision, then just step down right now. Just resign from the leadership position you're in and resign back into a team leader position. If you can't hack it, if you can't handle it, all right. I can understand maybe because it's hard, but you certainly shouldn't be in an element of leadership. Leadership, like I said earlier, is not a popularity contest. And you might have to let go of somebody who's not the right fit because the team comes first. And by the way, people think, oh, I'm sacrificing that guy and that guy's not going to like me. Well, what if you keep that individual around? What if you keep that individual around? Well, he's going to undermine and he's going to underperform. He's going to diminish and he's also going to rot out the team. I've seen this a lot. Guys who are bitter and contentious and they don't have the right spirit and they aren't interested or bought into the mission and they just rot and bring in this level of toxicity to the team that just is cancerous to the rest of the team. And then not only do you lose one guy, you lose 2 guys, you lose 5 guys, you lose 10 guys because you allowed that one individual, because you were weak and you were soft, you allowed that one and you were more worried about being popular, that you allowed one individual to rot out and destroy and eat away like some corrosive acid the rest of your team. That's your fault. That's not his fault. You knew that guy was cancerous. You knew he was a toxic contribution to your team, and yet you kept him around because you're spineless and you're a coward and you're more interested in being liked. By the way, guys, I speak from experience. I've kept people around longer than I should because I thought, oh man, this is going to be awkward. I'm going to let this guy go. I'm going to have to ask him to step down. This is going to be uncomfortable. Welcome to leadership. We have to make unpopular decisions based on principle, based on putting the team first, based on winning whatever the objective is. And that means at times, like the movie Speed, sometimes you're going to have to shoot the hostage, right? Keanu Reeves, hey, I'd shoot the hostage. Sometimes there's going to have to be some hostages. And you're going to have to do it. And we do it with as much class and tact as possible. But at times, some people have to go. And you got to be willing to do that. And by the way, I want the best for the people that I let go. If I let somebody go in my old business, which is retail management, or I decide to let go of a client that maybe isn't a good client or a good fit for what I'm doing, or ask somebody to step down in team leadership from the Iron Council, I do genuinely want the best for these individuals. I don't do that out of spite. I don't do that because I don't like that individual. I do it because I want not only my team to win, but I want that person to win as well. Like I want them to go out and find whatever it is they need in life that it's going to help them be happier, be more successful, and be a contributing member to another team. But they ain't going to do it here because it ain't happening here. All right. Point number 5, guys. Keep your eye on the price. All right, just keep your eye on the prize. It's very easy to get distracted. It's very easy to get sidetracked. It's very easy to get so wrapped up in the way you feel about people or one person individually. And while I commend you for your level of empathy and understanding and compassion, if it comes at the expense of the team, you're not being a great leader. You're not. You're being an ineffective leader. You're inefficient. You're hindering people. You're hindering the person that should be let go. You're hindering the people that are still around, and you're undermining yourself. And at some point, you probably ought to be let go too. So keep your eye on the prize. What is the prize of your family? Well, when it comes to your children, it's to render yourself obsolete. When it comes to your wife, it's to honor her, to be faithful to her, and to help her get to a place that she could not have imagined going on her own. When it comes to other individuals, it's about winning the game, growing the business, giving them opportunities where they will get promoted and they will make more money and they will be able to be more bought into the mission and they will be able to serve more effectively. That's the prize. And there's going to be things that pop up along the way, whether they're people or circumstances that are going to try to either deliberately or unintentionally detract and distract you from accomplishing your overall objective. And you need to be able to eliminate the temptations, eliminate the distractions, eliminate the hurdles and the obstacles, and even the people that get in the way of you achieving your results and accomplishing what you want to as a team. That is at the essence of what it means to be a team leader and to be in a leadership position in general. I know, guys, that these are challenging things. I know that we bought into the idea that, we just want to be popular and we want to be liked and we want to have social media followers and we want to get a bunch of clicks on our social media profiles. I fall into that trap as well. But I'm telling you that leadership is not a popularity contest. Might have been in high school, might be in some certain elements, but if you truly want to win, you're not worried about being popular, or you're worried about the ultimate victory of your team, whether it's your family, members in your community, your actual team that you might be coaching, the business, whatever facet of life. And I feel like if you incorporate these 5 principles, which is number 1, fight the right battle. Number 2, operate on principles. Number 3, communicate effectively. Number 4, hire the right team. Keep the right team around. And number 5, keep your eye on the prize. This is it, guys. Not a lot to it. Obviously, easier said than done. It's always easier to open your mouth and flap your gums than it is to actually put your back and hands and mind to work. But this is what's required. I have faith in you. I know you can do it. I'm excited to see what comes of you stepping into leadership, not only for you, but the people you're serving. And that's what this is all about. I talk about the core tenets of masculinity to be protect, provide, and preside. Preside is synonymous with leadership. I'm excited about what you're doing as leaders inside the walls of your home and your community and your businesses as well. I'm inspired by you every day. I don't want you to lose track of what's important. Yes, your individuals are important, but the mission always comes first, which means that you won't always be popular. And leaders accept that, and they embrace that, and they do what's necessary for the ultimate victory of the team. All right, guys. That's all I got for you today. We'll be back next week for another exciting interview. Until then, go out there, take action, and become the man you are meant to be.